Welcome to the Canopy Practice Success podcast. I'm excited to be here for another episode with Jessie Williams. My name is Casey Brothers. I am one of the hosts of the podcast. Jessie, give us a quick introduction of yourself.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a Canopy user, and
Woo-hoo!
I literally just came back from Engage and met lovely people at Canopy, and I somehow got connected with you guys for this podcast. I love podcasts, and I have a firm. I want to say a lifestyle firm, and I'll explain why I'm mentioning
Okay.
that. But we have a full practice, tax and accounting. We do everything for our clients. We solve problems. That's what it is. And if I do not do it in my wheelhouse, I will find someone else that does, because my job is to connect them and with the right advisors, the right providers for services, and to solve their problems. That's mainly what we do. And if that's tax planning, a phone call, a referral to a dentist, whatever it is, that's what we do. And I love what I do. I love the people, and I love what my business has allowed me to do. Interact with great people like this and be on podcasts and just talk. One of the things I love to do.
Yeah. Accounting is a people-heavy business, and I feel like from every interaction I've had with any accountant, from anything I've read, it is relationships, relationships, relationships. And how
Yes,
can I better cater to these relationships? How
yes,
can I better serve? There's a lot of this feeling of personal responsibility of
yeah.
serving.
It's exhausting too.
Yes, which leads us to our topic that we wanted to cover today,
Yeah.
because that it's such a good human desire to have, but
Mm-hmm.
it can lead itself into a lack of boundaries, which then can affect our mental health, which
Yeah.
is today's topic.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to us a little bit more about why you're passionate about this.
Well, I first off, I love what I do, and I always hated how our industry is set up. I
Okay.
traditionally came from the big four. I went to a smaller public accounting firm thinking that, you know what, maybe I don't like big companies, because I do
Yeah.
think I learned better in smaller groups. And I realized very quickly that it's just how they are positioning us with our peers, with the clients, and just a lack of boundaries in our personal lives. And it was just too much. Um, and there's this fear of the client sometimes, and we have to jump when they call. And I
Oh,
just hated all the high emotions during tax season, and it was just not healthy. And the people that were aspiring to be these partners, they're all overweight, they're always there, and if they're married, I don't know how that works. So I question, like, why do and then I think about the income that these partners are making. I don't want to be 55, 60, and now making the income that I currently make. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
So
yeah.
it was something that and I have to work 80 hours. Well, that's exaggerating, but there's times we do work 80 hours. I have to work all these hours to make 200K. It just didn't add up to me.
No.
So I quit my job, but I also didn't want to bring that poor practice over,
Yeah.
because if you think of the stereotypes, there's no boundaries, like you said. You're always working. During tax season, you have no life. I have a girlfriend whose mom is around right before the deadline, and she has never spent a birthday with her up until, I think, maybe she started doing it 3 years now
Oh,
in a
that's
row.
interesting. I just saw something on LinkedIn. I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, but he posted something about how he and his wife had planned when to get pregnant so that they would not have a baby during tax season.
That is an actual joke that happens in
Yeah.
public accounting.
Yeah.
Yes, when I
Which
got
shouldn't be
married
the
and
case.
came up.
And that was the point he ended up making in his video, but it just goes to show too that when you don't have boundaries in your professional life, how much it can impact your personal life. And we are not professionals here and humans there. It's
Yeah,
all one person showing up every day for this however many waking hours we are showing up, and
yeah.
they bleed into each other and they impact each other, and if you don't think that, you're kidding yourself.
And if you don't acknowledge it, And because they always say, hey, it's not personal, it's business, but it is, because business funds my personal
Yes.
lifestyle.
Yes.
And if I'm having it intertwines. And I think that's
Yeah.
the first thing that people need to accept and change the narrative in the workplace, because now mentally I'm exhausted. I can't give my spouse, my kids, my family the time that they need, right? Because I stopped getting invites to certain things, because we have that September 15th deadline. So our summer is gone. No one's inviting me to barbecues. I remember one time I left working Saturday, had to run out at 4 just so I could be there for a good friend of mine for his birthday celebration. And it was so chaotic. Like, I couldn't go home and take a shower and relax. I had to just go straight into it and freshen
Yeah.
up in the car. So it's just
Yeah.
like things like that. It's just so like toxic almost.
Yeah.
And I think that we are mentally exhausted because we're giving so much to our clients. We're on the phone, we're talking, we're being this extrovert. And I feel sorry for the introverts who have to pretend to be extroverts, because that's uncomfortable. And you
Yeah.
see the uncomfortableness right away. And then on top of that, we have to now perform work, and we have to be, you know, professional in how we speak. And when we're like dying on the inside, we
Yeah.
probably didn't eat properly. We definitely didn't sleep, because if we left work at 1 a.m. and we're coming back in for 9, there's no sleeping there. And that happens regularly. I mean, you could probably do it in your early 20s when you're straight out of college, but it's not healthy at all.
Yeah.
It's just, and mentally it's draining. It is.
Yeah. Okay, so there are two types of people I'm thinking of right now. And I want to know how you might talk to these people. One is
Mm,
the partner, right?
yeah,
And they can think, what do you mean? This is just how it's done. There's no other way. How do you recommend I even get out of this? Or they could be thinking too, this is how it's done. Buck up. Like what would your
yeah.
response, and I'll tell you who the second person is in a little bit. What would your response be to those personalities?
First of all, I say take a look at a profession. Um, the younger generation are saying no. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be disruptive.
And
I
we
don't know
see,
what,
yeah, we see
I
that in the
love
numbers.
them. People
Yeah.
say they're lazy, whatever. They know boundaries. They
Yes.
know who they are. They're very transparent. Yes, they record everything, but they're transparent. Okay. But I love the transparency, and because of that's how it's been. No one wants to be an accountant. No one
Yeah, and
wants
we see that. We see that in who's choosing to study
schools.
it. We see that in who's choosing to actually go into the profession and
Yeah,
apply. Yeah.
enrollment for accounting, enrollment for tax is down.
Yeah, a
It's
lot.
down. So it's not like people is they're going to school and they're finding out, oh no, this is not a profession for me. They're not even bothering, because they already know that they have to finish this, study for some exam, and then I got to go to the big four, because that's how it's been done, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I have to be demeanor, talked down to, and be treated like crap because I'm a new hire. So that's what I would say to them. Like, take a look at your profession. Clearly, it's not working. People are saying
And
no.
and you and your firm will get left behind. It's just a matter of when, because
Yeah,
talent's going to go somewhere. And
good.
it's not going to come to you if you're not recognizing that there are better ways and that there are efficiencies that can be done to help accomplish
Hmm.
maybe even the same amount of work, same amount of clients,
Yeah,
but without the time.
yeah, yeah. I know for us who own our own practice, like, we just got to find a way to tap in, and work is in abundance. We,
Hmm.
as long as we find the right client, we find our nice niche, our nice rhythm, and really stick to it, and say no when needs to say no, things will just keep going. And I mean, I have old partners that call me up and say, hey, do you have capacity to do this? So um, they're recognizing that us solopreneurs, we're actually needed. So
Yeah.
that's what I
Okay.
would say to them.
Okay.
What's the
So
second one?
the second one is a non-partner. We'll just say someone who's working at a firm, who knows what seniority, but doesn't necessarily have control because they are not the owner. It's the culture of the firm. They feel like, well, I need an income. What
Yeah.
what what would you say to them?
I would probably tell them my story. Yeah, because I was once there, right? Because the more money you make, the older you get, the harder you think it is for you to leave. And
Yeah.
you know, 7 years ago, making 120K, I'm young. I don't have any kids. I'm just newly married. I don't have that much debt. It's just student loans, of course. I'm doing great. And I do taxes for my friends and family on the side, and I probably make a little extra 30K there, right? And I had to ask myself, life is too short, like to be doing something every single day, the majority of your day that you hate. I mean, if you love it, you love it. I'm not gonna say this. There's some people this is they're built for it.
Yeah.
But if you love it, stay. If you don't love it, then you gotta
There
figure
are
out
options. There
there are
are
options.
options.
And you are in control. No one is. I was just speaking to a young lady I met at the Engage, and she has a 2 year old. She's currently pregnant. She has her own business and she works full time. Similar like me. We're trying to make that transition. And I asked her when. She's currently discussing that with her husband. He doesn't want her to leave. He thinks it's too soon. She's 2 years
Okay.
in her business.
Okay.
And then on top of that, she says to her, I said, well, what is stopping you? And she goes again, him. And I say to her that what's the worst that could happen if you quit your job? That she fails at earning her own business. And I said, you just go get a job. You'll
Yeah,
always,
because
we
guess
will
what?
always have a job.
Everyone wants you.
Yes. I said, say that to your husband and have this baby and quit your job. And I asked her how much she made. She said, gross last year, 28K. I said, when you quit your job, you're going to make 100K. I guarantee you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just make 100K. Just quit your job. You're going to make, because the time you're investing in someone else's dream, you can invest in yourself. And it will happen. It will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of us are more risk averse than others. Some of us have more of that entrepreneurial spirit than others.
Yeah.
Wherever you land on either of those spectrums,
Mm-hmm.
I see accounting as such a perfect opportunity, regardless of those traits, right?
Yeah.
It's always going to be scary to jump in. But the reason I see it that way is because we're actually seeing a decrease in financial literacy amongst adults. But I think also we're starting to see this revival of small businesses and
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have people who have these business desires
Mm-hmm.
but don't know the business,
Yeah. Yeah.
that want to see these things come to pass, but could easily fail rather quickly if they don't have expert advice.
Yeah.
Now, you said one of my favorite buzzwords a little bit ago, and I always have to say it twice because I never know which way to say it. Niche or niche.
No, I'm thinking about it. I
I know.
never
See,
had to
now
think about it.
and then I get in my head about it. I just need to
Yeah. I've seen
memorize
it.
the phonetic
Yeah.
spelling or something.
Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
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 But you do that. You find an ideal client profile or an ICP,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a more targeted approach. And it's instead of casting a net wide, you're shooting fish in a barrel, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And you're able to then up or strengthen your expertise and therefore
Mm-hmm.
charge more and have this balanced accounting
Yeah.
professional experience that doesn't have to be anything like these traditions that we've seen so far in the industry.
Yeah. And the thing is that, I shared this story that when I started, I made 100K my first year. Cold turkey left, right? Um, and I think is that people feel like they need to replace their income. Okay, and I did not replace my little 120 I was making at the time. I did a budget because I'm a financial person. How much do I need to live on? You know how
Yeah.
much that was? 60K.
Yeah.
It was 60K. I was living in the tri-state. Now, granted that New York City has always been relatively high. I lived in Jersey City at the time, and I'm not paying city taxes, so I'm saving there, and it's a little bit less expensive than Brooklyn, where my
Yeah.
mom and my siblings live. And I gave up my car. So where could I cut back that I don't need? You know? So when you boil it down to, I didn't need 120, and think about it, 120 on W-2 is not what you take home.
Yeah,
So
make the risk less risky so that you can take the jump. Yeah.
exactly. So making 100K gross with no one in my business all went to me. What am I really paying for? I paid for a membership to WeWork. I paid for the software, which was $1,000, and that's all what I really needed. I didn't make a fuss about business cards or what have you. I
Yeah.
focused on LinkedIn, and I grew my business through LinkedIn. And then I had a little bit of money. I got a coach. I figured it out. The next, I made 200K. The next year, and you just keep going. Then you learn from connecting with people that this is what they do, this help. This is an app that will make you do it faster so you can spend more
Yeah.
time. Hey, get an admin. So you learn as you go, and you're going to figure it out, and people are going to be so happy when you quit your job. They're going to support you in ways that you didn't even know. You're going to find other like-minded entrepreneurs. You're going to find people who are going through the same thing you're going through, and it's not that bad. It's
Yeah.
really it's fun. I would do it again. I wish I did it sooner, but the timing
Right.
was right. The timing I did it was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say, like, if anything, I hope listeners come away with hope or inspiration that, again, if this is the path that they choose, that they can go after it, but also that the rat race isn't worth it, isn't what shouldn't be the norm, all of
Yeah,
these things, right?
yeah,
Um, I heard anecdotally a while ago how depressed accountants are, or like how on a list of occupations, how high accountants fall on
stress
likelihood
level.
to have mental health issues, depression, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah,
And that shocked me. And working for a company who creates software in an attempt to make their lives easier, I was just like, oh, if only they knew that they're in 2024, we have so many things that are accessible to them, but it's
yeah,
hard. I know by learning about what you all do. I haven't done it myself, but just seeing the cyclicality, the seasonality, the demands, the changes that come through the federal government, these client calls, and that good human desire to serve. There, it's hard to find the time. I love this phrase, to slow down, to speed up, and to feel like you can be justified in that, in digging deep, not just into your own motivations, but digging deep into your business and your operations.
yeah. I feel that it goes back to just starting with yourself. And I think if you personally have poor health habits, and I'm saying, when I say health habits, health with doing with your boundaries, your rest, your sleep, your mental way of thinking. As we go older, we have to start grabbing things that help us perform as better human beings in any aspect, even if going to the gym. Like, Tom Brady, the world's greatest athlete, like, he recovers just as much as he works out, because let's just face it, he's not, not in his 20s anymore. So sleep is important. So that's not something that in our profession is glorified. We wear a badge of honor that we do all this work, and it's just something to be proud of. And I would hear people like, "Oh my gosh, I worked like 60 hours last week, and it's not even tax season." I'm
Yeah.
like, you should keep that to yourself, but it's mentally draining too, because like just this tax season, we had 3 clients that passed away. And it's like we're going about our routine and checking in, and the poor husband, our kids have to say, what's her name passed away, and we have to like stop for a second and send something and apologize. We didn't know. One person yelled at me because they were trying to book a call to tell me on the phone, and I said to them that I've been trying to reach you about your 2022 taxes, and you have just ignored my emails. Like, basically indirectly, I was telling him I don't have time to jump on a call when you don't even have time to answer an email. So he got really upset with me over that because
Mm.
I was supposed to know what was going on apparently. But with all that to say is that we have a lot of stuff gets dumped on us. And then we still have to get up and perform, even if our stuff isn't all the way right, right?
Yeah.
So if we're fighting with our husband, fighting with kids, if we didn't eat right, if we have a headache, we still have to show up, you
Yeah.
know? And that takes a toll on you eventually.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
being stuck in the house all day if you work from home, that might not be the best thing for you. Like, I literally don't have anyone coming into my office space. Everyone works remotely, but I have an office space because I need to get out of the house. And it's important for my mental health to get out, walk, and move and see people and make conversation. So I know I need that because I've done the work in sitting still and asking myself, what do I need?
Yeah.
I need to work out first thing in the morning. I need to eat my breakfast as soon as I'm done. And I need to take my time. But I could do all that and get at my desk at 8.
Yeah.
From 8 to 12, I work. No one could get through to me. My mom cannot reach me on my cell phone because that is my time to do the most important task of the day. And whatever that is. So at one point, the important task is growing my business. So I spend 4 hours working on following up, marketing, sales activity. And then from noon to 12:30 is my lunch break. Don't make fun of me. I take an hour and a half.
Oh, from noon to
And
1:30.
yes, from
Yeah.
noon to 1:30. And then my phone gets off to sleep mode.
Mm-hmm.
And from 1:30 to about 5, I work. I make have calls scheduled, and I schedule them 15 minutes in between because I need to go to the bathroom. I need to give myself time.
Yes.
And then after that, 5 o'clock, I'm going to eat dinner. Even if I'm still in the office, I'm going to eat dinner because I go to bed, let's say 8. I'm not trying to eat that late. So sometimes I eat dinner and then go home. Or
Yeah.
if I'm already home, I eat dinner and then log back on and say, okay, what is my day looking like tomorrow? Because I'm intentional. The day is not going to run me. I'm going to
Yeah.
run the day.
Yes.
And
Amen.
then and I get home and then I plan my gym bag. I get my meals ready. That's a typical day that I do after I've realized that my mental health is important.
Yeah.
So I plan my day and I'm very structured in that. Now, every single day is not like that. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes on Friday I sleep in. It's like I'm tired because I may have one late night. It usually is like a Thursday or a Wednesday, and which I hate to do because I feel it the next day
Yeah.
because I'm not performing the next day. Like I was yawning all day today because I'm going to another conference. I think you guys are going to be there. I'm not sure. Scaling Heights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll come harass whoever's there. So I have to like this. I just came back from Engage last week. I'm here this week, and now I'm going to Scaling Heights. So
Yeah.
everything needs to kind of like that needs my attention. I have to take care of it. So I'm like, all right, I'll work one late night because I'm definitely going to do absolutely nothing on Sunday. I plan to do nothing sometimes.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned so many of those things, but I want to call them out or double tap on them really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I mean, I'm young in my career. I've never experienced personally the badge of honor of 4 hours of sleep. Partly because I think of when I was born and when I graduated college, but also because of the career trajectory that I've had so far. But one of my best friends, her husband worked for KPMG for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be working 60, 70, 80 hours, oftentimes to 2 or so weeks away from home on site with a client, leaving my
Mm-hmm.
best friend with the kiddos. Um, and I just remember being like, how effective are you after so many hours? Like, you're all tired. Why not just take the time to refresh? I'm of the opinion that, like, who am I kidding? My brain, when my brain is ready to shut off, it's ready to shut off.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can start again the next day. And instead of working 10 hours the day before, I can work
Mm-hmm.
7 hours for 2 days and get just as much done in 20 hours over 2 days because I'm I'm doing it in the most optimal way. I'm taking advantage of my brain capacity. And I'm
Yes.
you and I have such a similar schedule. And I as a working mom, which is so funny that we
Yeah.
don't talk about our male coworkers that way as working dads.
Mhm. Oh gosh.
A whole other topic, right?
Another podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do. I've had to set boundaries. There was even a time where we were renovating our home, so we were living with my in-laws, and my father-in-law is a chatterbox. And I remember saying to him, it was like 7:55 and I was going to get on right at 8 or something like that. And he'd just asked me a big question and wanted to get into it. And I looked to him, I said, "I am sorry, Art. I cannot talk to you right now. If you would like to pencil down that question, I will gladly talk to you about it this evening over dinner. But I am going to log on and I'm going to work so that I can be fully present later."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those things are really important to me. And I feel like, again, we mentioned this really early on in the conversation, but seeing ourselves as holistic individuals, seeing how our work life impacts our personal life and vice versa. Um, I really believe that when we have balanced lives, we actually show up better in both places.
I agree. I agree. Because when I'm in my pocket of just having my schedule and letting my calendar be my guide, and being intentional, let me tell you, I am at my optimal like fitness level. I'm like so giddy. I'm like more in love with my husband. I'm like
Yes.
showing up as a sister. I'm killing it at work, all because I'm I'm really balanced, and I always used to say maybe because I'm kind of like a Libra, I guess, and if one thing is out of whack, everything is out of whack for me. I need that to be balanced because, like you said, everything is connected as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Everything, like for me to show up at work, because I can't tap out. If I had a W-2, I could say, you know what, and I could now, but if I said I'm going to have a call with a client today, it's hard for me to just be like, you know what, I need to have a mental day.
Yeah.
It's very hard. Even if I do, right, I will. But at work, we could fib a little bit and say, you know what, I don't feel like going in today, and that's okay because the business will run without me for the most part. And I'm trying to get there, right? But I'm not all the way there. Like I'm still like very locked in, but I just need to sometimes I need to tap out and I can't because I have obligation. If I don't do it today, I'm going to this thing next week and it's not going to happen. So it's very important for me to be, to the time that I've allotted to do this, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So if I ate something not so healthy on my lunch break, it affects my evening. So I'm intentional about what I eat for lunch too. That everything I try to do, I'm not the most intentional person, but when it comes to my day and stuff like that, like when my social life, I'm not intentional at all. I just want to wing it. But yeah, if we go on vacation, I am not intentional what we do. You know what? You plan and I will show up. I'm intentional, but showing up, I'll show up. But I don't want to plan anything.
Yeah.
When I go home and I'm done, I just want to get ready for the next day. And once that is done, I just want to be a couch potato. I don't want to be involved in any intellectual conversations. Don't ask me anything. I don't want to make a decision. So yeah, that's just how my day typically goes, and just making sure I stay on track,
Yeah.
and not to venture out too much,
Yeah.
but I do.
And maybe last thing, this all comes back to what do you want? Um, and do you feel like a lot of people know that?
No, because they don't sit still. People don't sit still.
In
Sit still with
general, not
themselves
just accountants, but yeah.
in general. Like I mean, literally sit still.
Yeah.
take a vacation by yourself. I've told people, you know, even if you have a spouse, you know, you could do something for yourself, by yourself, that's for you. You could go rent a hotel room and just sit there in a row. Go get a spa day. And even as a man, go get your feet done and just sit there and just let your brain go and ask yourself, am I happy? Tapping in with yourself is very important. And that's how goals get started. You know, I start setting my goals for the year in October. So my birthday's in October. I take a vacation. Typically I go back to where I'm from, Grenada. And I just have a personal retreat, if you will.
Yeah,
And
I've
I
heard
pick,
of this concept of a think week, even, which I
oh,
love.
yeah, I need 2 weeks.
Okay, okay.
I need 2 weeks because what I do is I literally pick 5 things that I want to improve on in my life. And so sometimes obviously the business is there, maybe my mental health or my I forgot what I call it, but whatever. It's just being in tune with myself and family. Maybe I don't spend enough time with my nephews or what have you, but I picked things, my fitness, my, you know, anything. I just laid down and where do I want to be? I'm here and I want to be here. So what do I need to bridge? What are the activities that need to happen for me to get there? And then I kind of start scheduling it. And then I come back and I speak to the team. Well, this is what we're going to do. This is what I want. What are your thoughts? And we start building it out. And that happens from October all the way to December, and that get us started for tax season.
Yeah.
Is because I thoroughly thought of what I wanted. I envision it, and I literally, if I set a goal, and I speak it too. So one of the things I want to do is more speaking engagements, right? I wanted to start doing speaking engagements. I wanted to do a podcast, and you share that with the universe, and the universe answers. Your friends listen.
Well, I've heard the phrase too that a goal not shared is just a dream.
I know why people always say that. You know, I don't want to share my goal because I don't, are you
But what if it
embarrassed? Like,
doesn't happen? It's like, no, like,
but that's
what if
a
by
possibility.
sharing it, I'm
What
able
if
to
it does
help you
happen?
make it happen?
Yes. And what if it does happen?
Yeah.
That's the scary part. And sometimes too, maybe you're not dreaming big enough.
Oh, maybe we
So
end with that. I don't know. Seriously, that's a challenge. Dream bigger. I
yeah,
don't know if
dream
there
bigger. Get
uh,
goosebumps.
I don't know if you saw the movie Juno from ages ago. I think it was early 2000s.
No.
But it has some really good one-liners in it and some you can really miss because it's just so tightly
Ah,
written and witty.
yeah.
And the stepmom is talking to the daughter and she's like, "When you leave the house, I'm gonna get Weimaraners." And the daughter's like, "Whoa, dream big." Anyway,
Oh
one of my
gosh.
favorites. Sorry, it's a family favorite. Anyway, Jesse, you are a delight and an inspiration. Thank you. I hope that several people who've been able to listen to this take that moment, take that challenge to take a few hours, if not, holy cow, 2 weeks, um, and dream
Yeah.
big.
Here if you
Everybody
go to
has the right to dream big. And I think
yeah,
and even like the not just right, but think capacity as well as well capacity within themselves, but like capacity to within like their world context that you can not only dream big, but you can work towards those dreams and make them reality.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you literally can do anything you want to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the end of the podcast. Thanks, Jesse.
All right. Thank you. It was nice doing this.